Basically, two disclaimer. I've been traveling, so my formatting is not very good. Plus, I have chosen a area where I have some sort of some amount of experience being an IT guy, and so that's why I've taken NTT GDC, which is a global data center, part of NTT Docomo Group, NTT Data Group.
Correct.
Uh, NTT GDC is one of the dominant player in the market. Now, why I chose data center as a topic? If you look at it, the power demand for data center is going up like crazy. Between now and between 23 and 2030, it is expected to double by 2.5 times. Right? In some countries, it is already becoming a double digit, like Sweden and Ireland. A lot of local protests are happening, saying that we don't want any more data centers, and there are a lot of concerns around that because it's affecting the grid supply. And data centers are contributing good amount of power consumption. And even some estimates say by 2030, 17% of US energy consumption will be from data center market alone, which is a significant. Currently, global, if you compare, aviation industry is supposed to consume about 1 to 2%, and I think data centers are already crossed that, and we are well on the way to reach 4%. By 2030. This is a very conservative estimate. So I chose my own personal belief is IT sector, which is helping other industries to measure and monitor and support their uh, environmental initiatives. They cannot be lagging behind. They can't be preaching what they are not practicing themselves. So I chose this area. Um, NTT data, if you look at it, it is one of the top 3 players globally. It is in terms of both strategy as well as capability. It is not a hyperscaler like what we talk, Google's and Amazon's and Microsoft of the world, but they are more into supporting other companies. And if you look at it, they are currently ranked as the third dominant player in the so. So this is their footprint across the world. And when I say their total capacity is about 1209 megawatt of IT power. When I say IT power, actually I have to multiply it by 1.5 or 1.6, whatever is the power utilization efficiency, PUE they call it. So it will be at least 1.5 to 1.6 times the actual power consumption. This gives you roughly across
Why
the
it is
global.
1.5 times?
Pardon?
Why is it
Uh,
5 times?
Yeah, IT power is actually what power consumed by the IT itself. To cool the IT equipment and absorb the thing, you need support services like cooling and air conditioning, all the cooling infrastructure for the power. So normally how they calculate the power efficiencies, total power divided by IT power. So that is, PUE is considered as an efficiency factor. Because if your server consumes 1 watt of power, to cool that you need another 0.5 watt of electricity for air conditioning and
Clear.
cooling technology. That is why measurement is always talking about IT power, which is how many IT equipment they host, what is the power consumed by them, right? And yeah, that's how I have chosen this company, which is not the very high-end company as well as not a low-end player. I have taken a moderate one. Uh, these are some of the goals that they have set for themselves. In 2021, they started the baseline, and their ambitious program is by 2030, they should reach net zero DC operation, and including supply value chain, they are talking about 2040 net zero, which is very audacious and ambitious goal. And if you look at it, they are looking at across all the areas of management. And NTT, the data GDC is one part of NTT thing, but GDC is the one which consumes maximum power, and so predominantly whatever data they are showing is all about data center operations. So that's why they have mentioned net zero DC operations and net zero value chain separately in the goal. And of course, some of the things are obviously, though it's not mentioned explicitly, they are talking about 100% renewable energy for data center operation, which is also a good target. But I am little skeptical, and therefore I will call it audacious target. I'll come to that reason why I'm saying that. 100% by 2030 reach over 1 million megawatt hour already is what they are saying. But we'll have to wait and watch how this progresses, because of primarily we don't know how the demand is growing. The uh, uh, artificial intelligence related applications are pushing the demand like crazy. And in fact, big companies like Google and Microsoft, especially Google and Amazon, they have to go soft on some of their environmental goals in the last 1 year. They have tried to rephrase their ambition. But yeah, but NTT so far they are maintaining that they will continue to follow whatever target they have set for themselves. Sorry, I think why it is going up again. Okay, sorry. Yeah. Here is summary of data as of last year, where their consumption is where their emissions are maximum. If you look at it, the maximum emission is coming from purchased goods and services, which is probably the product what they are buying and installing for their client. But in terms of data center, it is electrical power, electrical scope 2 emission, which is almost 501,485 tons of carbon dioxide equivalent, right? The line number 2 is the critical thing for data center, but other areas also are looking significantly high. For example, the purchase goods is single largest, but I think that is for both data center as well as the overall company purchase goods and item, which is a significant portion. And after closely followed by downstream leased assets, right, which is probably all the premises where they're rented and used. This is another area for them to target. And if you look at then followed by the capital goods and fuel energy emissions from that is the category scope 3 category. You call it 4 or 5, I don't remember now. It's 3 probably. Category 3 fuel and energy related activities. So these are the significant areas where they are currently their maximum consumption is happening. I don't know why it is going up again. Okay. Okay. What is the achievement so far? They have successfully reduced the total emissions by an impressive 21%, resulting in saving of almost 1.6 million tons of carbon. They were the first companies to achieve external validation from Science Based Target Initiative, which is again a good. They have gone as per the recommendation, and we have developed a database assessment solution to assist companies in evaluating the data storage and eliminating duplicate. This is another. This is more for their client-related thing. Wherever they are given for hosting services, how they can reduce the. Basically, what happens is when a data center primarily hosts data and application servers. Now, by properly categorizing the various server category, critical applications need to have redundancy, but non-critical applications may not require redundancy. Whenever you create redundancy, you are consuming more power, more energy. Therefore, by reducing the redundancy, you can do. So one strategy, what they do part of their assessment is, how do we categorize the whole data suite and then locate them in different server halls within the data center, thereby reducing the redundancy for, otherwise, you have to keep redundancy for all the applications, whereas your critical applications may be only 15-20%. Why you have to entire server set need not be covered under redundancy, so that they help the customers with this assessment and help them to reduce their data server footprint and hardware footprint, thereby reducing the amount of energy they consume. And also, they are wherever they have got cloud offering, they are trying to use standardized hardware with direct chip liquid cooling, which is much better than the normal, normal precision air conditioning kind of environment where the efficiency is not very high. Whereas when you directly cool the chip level by immersing the whole circuit PCBs and circuits in a liquid, which a non-conducting liquid, they are able to dissipate the heat much better, much more efficiently, and thereby saving a lot of power as well. So this is what they have achieved so far. But I don't know why it's going up. I don't know. Something is wrong. One second. There is some. Okay. Now, just give me 1 second. Yeah. What are the challenges that we have? The one challenge I clearly foresee for any data center, and more so for these kind of companies which are heavily into hosting business, power demand over growth may overgrow the projection due to rapid AI and digital push. And the renewable energy, what we are saying 100%, may get challenged, especially in developing nations where it could lag the actual demand. The supply may not be available. That could impact the 100% RE as well as net zero target project for 2030. That's one major concern I foresee. Second is, as a hosting service provider, their current operation consists of good amount of hosting services where they don't have control of what hardware customer is bringing in, and thereby it limits the capacity. It reduces their ability to use energy efficiency in cooling, etc. And net zero aspiration, including the value chain, could face a constraint due to underdeveloped carbon markets in developing countries. And that could be a potential threat area. They may or may not be able to meet their goals. So some of the mitigation strategies, what I can think of: supplement RE power purchase agreement with on-site generation. On-site generation is coming up as a good alternative because number one, you directly can convert the scope 2 to scope 3 to scope 2 to scope 1 directly. Plus, you are also able to you are able to have better control over that, and transmission losses are correct taken care of very well. So there are two technologies to watch, which is the fuel cell, which is hydrogen fuel cell market, and also the micro modular reactors, which can be like 50 megawatts, 5 megawatts, 10 megawatts micro modular reactor, which is still a lot of research is going on, but expected to become a reality by end of this decade. So they should focus on that and probably participate in the industry and research institutes to accelerate that. And they should also work with the industry association and see, like, for example, in US there are quite a few, Microsoft and Google, they are supporting a complete nuclear power plant, fully exclusively for their own captive power. They are facilitating and funding such projects because they are large company, they can support. But NTT kind of guys, they can form association within the other player. They can actually set up this kind of captive facilities for their own requirement. That's one way of mitigating and not total dependence on solar and wind alone. Solar, wind, and such power alone, especially in a developing country, it could be a challenge. So these are a couple of strategies, and reduce exposure to hosted DC business and encourage as much as possible cloud service. That also will help you to standardization of hardware and thereby reduce the footprint on, they can deploy the latest cooling technologies. Data centers also, as you saw in the very first slide, they are also expanding in many more data centers are coming up as we speak. And they have to ensure that all their facilities are gold or platinum certified, so that the building phase itself, a lot of efficient, they can be more, environment friendly buildings. both construction as well as an operation phase. Uh, and waste disposal, especially for a data center, battery is a dead investment. Many times they may not use the battery, but every few years they have to keep replacing them. So that becomes a huge task, and they need to have a continue to. They have a very good supplier mentoring program, and they have a very pioneering active work in that area. But they need to accelerate to cover this battery technology, and they also ensure that the recycling is taken care uh, properly. And hardware, as far as possible, we saw the capital goods is one of the largest contributors. I think they should look at hardware as a lease option. That is where we every 4 years or 5 years they should actually focus and get it replenished with the vendor himself, so that they don't have to own it. They only lease it. In the process, they can transfer the scope 3 obligation to the vendor. That's one suggestion. And scope 3 cat 1 purchase goods and services, single largest contributor. Again, you can mentor and negotiate with supplier for best in class practices. And scope 3 uh, category 13, we saw that downstream least significant asset. I think this is another area they need to focus, because there are significant amount of almost one of the largest contributors of the uh, uh, GH, greenhouse gas emission we saw. So on the capital goods, I think they should leverage the volume procurement and ensure that the OEM suppliers should target their own scope 1 and 2. So they can commit them through the contracting process, so they can encourage their OEMs to fall in line. And also most of them are standard equipment suppliers, so they are also pushing their own uh, they have their own sustainability journey. So I think they should be able to manage that better. And last but not least, they should ensure that the asset life is extended as much as possible to avoid unnecessary replacements. You know, so every time when we extend the life, we can delay the recycling and e-waste uh, program. So these are some of the suggestions that I have. So
Very
this
good.
is just what I had briefly in mind.
No, 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 good. Well done. What I liked about your presentation that you have gone to each category and try to address with a mitigation strategy. That's how in practice people do. They take each of the critical activity and specifically those, and you have selected the maximum impact ones. Like 1 million was with category 13 and another 1 million was 1.5 million was with category 1. So you have taken both of them and addressed with a mitigation strategy. Well done. Okay, so with that, let's go to